In the grand city of Susa, Persia, where the mighty empire's heart beat with power and intrigue, lived a young Jewish orphan named Hadassah, known to most as Esther. The city's bustling markets and towering palaces were a world away from the quiet, humble life she knew. Raised by her wise and caring cousin Mordecai, Esther grew up surrounded by love, learning the values of kindness, honesty, and a deep faith in God. Mordecai became both her guardian and her teacher, guiding her through the challenges of life in a foreign land. Mordecai, who served as a palace official, reminded her daily of their Jewish heritage and the importance of staying true to their people, even when it meant standing apart from those around them. Life in Susa was challenging for Jews, exiles in a foreign land, always cautious, always watchful. They lived with the constant reminder that they were different, and that difference could be dangerous. Mordecai instructed Esther to keep her Jewish identity secret for her safety, knowing that the world outside their door was not always kind to outsiders. Esther grew into a woman of remarkable beauty and quiet strength, but her life was simple and humble. She spent her days helping with daily chores, caring for her family, and finding comfort in her faith. She had no ambitions for power or grandeur, just hopes for peace, safety, and the warmth of family. Her dreams were modest, shaped by the realities of her world, yet, unknown to her, a greater destiny awaited. The quiet strength she carried would soon be called upon in ways she could never have imagined. The shadow of the Persian Empire loomed over her life, and Esther's world was about to change forever. The fate of many would soon rest on her shoulders. She could not have imagined that her faith and courage would soon be tested in ways she never dreamed. The choices she would face would require wisdom beyond her years. The orphan girl's journey was only beginning. Each step she took would lead her closer to a destiny that would shape the future of her people. In the heart of the empire, God was preparing her for a purpose far beyond her own dreams, weaving her story into the tapestry of history. Soon, she would be called to step from the shadows into the dazzling, dangerous halls of the royal palace, where every decision could mean life or death. Her story would become one of courage, faith, and deliverance, a story that would inspire generations to come. Esther's quiet life was about to become a story for the ages, a tale of hope rising from the most unlikely of places. And it all began with a girl named Hadassah, whose faith would change the course of history. King Xerxes, ruler of a vast empire that stretched from India to Ethiopia, was a man of immense power and wealth. His word was law, and his court was filled with splendor and intrigue. Yet even a king as mighty as Xerxes could not escape the loneliness that came after banishing Queen Vashti, whose defiance had shocked the empire. Seeking to fill the void beside him, Xerxes issued a royal decree. A search would begin for a new queen, one worthy of the Persian throne. Messengers traveled across the empire, gathering the most beautiful and noble young women. Among them was Esther, a young woman of quiet strength and hidden heritage, who was chosen to join the king's harem. Taken from the home of her cousin Mordecai, Esther entered the palace harem, a world of strict rules, fierce competition, and constant uncertainty. She was far from everything familiar, surrounded by strangers and watched by palace guards. Despite her fear and the overwhelming grandeur of the palace, Esther soon found favor with Haggai, the keeper of the harem. He saw something special in her and gave her the best food, advice, and care, helping her prepare for her moment before the king. Following Mordecai's wise counsel, Esther kept her Jewish identity a secret, never revealing her true background to anyone in the palace. For an entire year, Esther and the other women underwent beauty treatments and learned the complex customs of the Persian court. They practiced how to walk, speak, and behave before royalty, each hoping to win the king's favor. Yet it was not just outward beauty that set Esther apart. Her humility, kindness, and quiet grace shone brighter than any jewel or fine garment. When her turn finally came, King Xerxes was captivated, not only by Esther's beauty, but by the gentle strength and dignity she carried within her. Moved by her presence, Xerxes placed the royal crown upon Esther's head and declared her queen, elevating her above all others in the empire. In a single moment, an orphaned girl from a minority people became queen of the world's greatest empire. Her life forever changed. The king celebrated Esther's coronation with a magnificent banquet, inviting nobles and officials from every province to honor the new queen. But for Esther, her new position was not a prize for her own glory or comfort. She sensed a deeper meaning behind her rise to power. She could not have known that she was chosen for a purpose far greater than herself, a purpose that would soon be revealed. Esther's rise to the throne was nothing short of miraculous, a sign that destiny was at work, shaping the future in ways no one could foresee. Soon, Esther's courage and wisdom would be tested as never before, and the fate of her people would depend on her choices. In the days to come, Esther would discover that her greatest challenge and her greatest legacy was just beginning. While Esther settled into palace life, Mordecai remained vigilant at the king's gate. One day, he uncovered a plot to assassinate King Xerxes and quickly warned Esther. Esther told the king, crediting Mordecai, and the conspirators were caught. The king's life was saved, but Mordecai's deed was soon forgotten. Meanwhile, a new power rose in the court. Haman, a proud and ruthless man. Xerxes promoted Haman to second in command, commanding all to bow before him. Mordecai refused, bowing only to God. Day after day, Mordecai stood tall as others bowed, drawing Haman's attention and wrath. The officials reported Mordecai's defiance to Haman. A dangerous tension grew in Susa. Haman's pride was wounded, and his anger began to fester. The seeds of hatred were sown, and a dark shadow crept over the city. Trouble was brewing for Esther and her people. Haman's rage at Mordecai's defiance turned into a plot against all Jews. He convinced King Xerxes that a certain people threatened the empire's unity, offering a massive bribe to destroy them. Xerxes, trusting Haman, gave him his signet ring, granting him absolute authority. Haman issued a decree on a set day. All Jews in the empire were to be killed, their property seized. The law was sent to every province, spreading fear and confusion. Susa was thrown into panic as the fate of an entire people hung in the balance. Haman and the king celebrated, but the city mourned. The decree was final, sealed by the king's own ring. The future looked grim for Esther's people. Mordecai was devastated by the decree and mourned publicly in sackcloth and ashes. News of the impending doom spread, and the Jewish community was plunged into grief. Esther, unaware, learned of Mordecai's distress and sent a messenger to discover the cause. Mordecai explained Haman's plot and urged Esther to plead with the king for her people. Esther hesitated, knowing that approaching the king uninvited could mean death. Mordecai's reply was resolute. "Do not think you will escape. Who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?" Esther realized her destiny was no accident. She understood the risk, but also the responsibility. Her courage was awakened by Mordecai's words. The fate of her people depended on her. Esther's moment of truth had arrived. She prepared to act no matter the cost. Mordecai's challenge stirred Esther's resolve, awakening a sense of purpose she had never felt before. The weight of her people's fate pressed heavily on her heart, and she knew she could not turn away. She asked Mordecai to gather all the Jews in Susa to fast for 3 days, as she and her maids would do. Together, they would seek divine guidance, uniting in prayer and fasting, hoping for mercy in the face of danger. Esther placed her trust in God, not her royal status. She understood that her position alone could not save her or her people. Only faith and courage could carry her through. The palace was filled with tension as the days passed, each moment stretching her resolve. Esther's heart pounded with fear, but she clung to hope. After 3 days, she dressed in her finest robes and approached the king's inner court, risking her life. King Xerxes saw her and, moved by her courage, extended his golden scepter. The entire court watched in suspense, aware of the danger she faced. Esther was safe, but her mission had just begun. The relief was brief, for she knew the hardest part was still ahead. She stood before the king, ready to plead for her people. Every word she would speak could change the course of history. Her famous words echoed in her heart, "If I perish, I perish." With unwavering determination, she prepared to reveal her request. Esther's transformation was complete. No longer just an orphan, but a queen willing to risk everything. Her courage inspired all who witnessed her stand. The fate of a nation rested on her next words. The silence in the hall was heavy, every eye fixed on Esther. Esther's faith and bravery would soon be put to the ultimate test. She stood at the crossroads of destiny, her heart steady despite the risk. She had chosen courage over comfort, stepping away from safety to face the unknown for the sake of her people. The moment of decision had come. Time seemed to stand still as Esther gathered her strength. Esther's story was now one of sacrifice and hope. Her actions would echo through generations, a testament to the power of faith. The future of her people depended on her boldness, and the world would soon witness the impact of one woman's courageous choice. The king welcomed Esther and offered her anything, even half his kingdom. Instead of revealing her request, Esther invited the king and Haman to a private banquet. At the banquet, the king asked again, but Esther delayed, inviting them to another banquet the next day. Her patience was strategic. She needed the perfect moment. Haman, flattered by the attention, grew more arrogant. Esther's delay built suspense and curiosity in the king. She was setting the stage for a dramatic revelation. Timing was everything. Esther's wisdom guided her actions. The king and Haman agreed to return. The fate of the Jews hung on Esther's careful plan. The final confrontation was near. That night, the king couldn't sleep and had the royal records read to him. He discovered Mordecai had once saved his life but had never been honored. Haman, arriving to request Mordecai's execution, was instead ordered to honor him publicly. Haman, humiliated, led Mordecai through the city in royal splendor. That evening, at Esther's second banquet, the king again asked for her request. Esther revealed her true identity and pleaded for her life and her people's. "We have been sold to be destroyed, killed, and annihilated," she said. The king, shocked, demanded to know who was responsible. Esther pointed to Haman. "This vile Haman!" The king, enraged, stormed out. Haman begged Esther for mercy. Returning, the king found Haman in a compromising position and ordered his execution. Haman was hanged on the very gallows he had built for Mordecai. The truth was out, and justice was swift. Esther's courage had saved her people from destruction. The tide had turned in favor of the Jews. With Haman gone, Esther and Mordecai were given his house and authority, but the original decree still threatened the Jews. Esther bravely pleaded with the king again, and he allowed a new decree. Mordecai wrote a law permitting Jews to defend themselves. Messengers spread the news, turning fear into hope. On the appointed day, the Jews triumphed over their enemies. Mourning turned to joy, and the festival of Purim was established to remember their deliverance. Esther's story is a timeless lesson in courage and faith. She risked everything for her people, proving that one person's bravery can change history. For such a time as this, Esther's legacy endures, reminding us to stand for what is right, even in the darkest times.